All right. Relationship postmortem part 4 or 5, depending on how you're counting. If you want to count 3.5 or 3 addendum, then this is 5. So far, we've covered a few things, and I just want to, at this point, I think we should review some of the major concepts. These are just going to be bullet points, so I don't want you to think this is going to be an overly long video or anything, and then we'll get to the real, the good stuff. First, it's not, how do you responsibly manage it? Well, it's not them. It wasn't them or you. By the way, blaming and complaining is equally bad as shaming yourself. So we'll get into shame in general and how to avoid that trap, because it's just a detour that makes you take longer to handle the stuff you need to handle anyway. And it's just a self-esteem game, and there's lots of ways people do it for social reasons and, to get comfort and all those things. But we'll skip that for now. But relationships are a quantum affair. So 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals either 3 or more than 2 rather. And, in that case we have synergy and chemistry, and, well, we always have chemistry. And then if it equals less than 2, we call that conflict. So you want to be careful. It was never them, it was never you. Blame or shame. That's missing the point. It was you, the we. And the very fascinating thing that you guys came up with together, unknowingly, when your qualities, patterns, previous history, beliefs, all those things interacted with them, and and their beliefs and patterns, and both of your expectations and all those things. So it wasn't them. And when you're blaming, you're giving your power away. When you're shaming, you're defeating yourself. So either way, everybody loses. We talked about the victim to hero spectrum, or the blame to responsibility spectrum. We talked about friends keeping you small by simply validating your feelings and agreeing with you. And we're going to get into what that means. Really, we're talking there about empathy versus colluding, and we do it for comfort again. And some people do it for they're protective of their friend. I have enrolled my friends in a few things, and we'll talk about some of the magic of the NLP stuff in a minute. Vilifying the other person to reclaim our power. It's a horrible thing to do. First of all, they were never as bad as you say they were. And they were never as amazing as you thought they were in the beginning. Both things are projections. Both things are over-generalizations. And so first, we're going to get into this major concept now in part 4 or 5, or whatever part, about the fact that we're not dealing with reality. We're not responding to reality. We're responding to our internal representations of reality. In this case, we're not responding to them or reacting to them. We're responding to our internal representations of them. Our pictures, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes, recollections, distortions, things like that. This is fact, by the way. This isn't some, posit I'm making. So if you're driving, stop this. If you're not, we'll go ahead and continue. Imagine the person's face whom you would love to see again. You're very fond of them, and notice where that is around you. Notice where, as you bring them up. It's even more fun sometimes to imagine somebody whom you miss, but who is no longer alive, or whom you're afraid of, who's no longer alive. There was a time where I could conjure a hologram in my mind of my father in the room, and I was actually terrified. But he's dead, right? So we're responding to these internal representations. And if you want to have some fun, go ahead and move that person who you're fond of even further away. Notice what happens in your body. If you bring them closer to you, notice what happens in your body. These are real physical reactions to something that's not there. What most people don't realize is we're doing that 95% of the time that we're with somebody who's alive, who's right there in the room. We're not responding to them, we're responding to our internal representations of them. Why is this important? First of all, if you're in grief, what you can do is, and we talked about, we talked about actually going into the qualities you loved about them. It's not just all these things that didn't fit. That's part of the truth. And there's another part of the truth you don't want to face. There's all these qualities that you still love about them. Especially if you're still in love with them. We like to deny that. And usually, unless you're just absolutely relieved that they're out of your life, you're still in love with them to some degree. Or maybe there's some emotional enmeshment that you can clear out. But what I've done in the past is I've enrolled friends of mine into, so first of all, just to illustrate the blame, complain thing, there's empathy and then there's collusion. So empathy versus collusion is like, yeah, that's really tough. Collusion is like, yeah, they were horrible, right? You're better off without them. Are you? We don't know. You can't know because you don't understand the chemistry that was there, the electricity that was there, because you weren't in the relationship. You're an outsider, which, by the way, is why I refused to coach about relationships for a long time. But I enrolled my friends in, first of all, not allowing, well, what was your part, or where did you do that, or for a submodality shift, which actually takes the person's face and shifts it, if you'll notice, I would have them, if I started rambling on about my ex-wife, I would have them say, who? And I go, oh, just some woman I used to be involved with. And that actually put her in my mind, automatically put her in a face in a different location. This gives you emotional freedom. It allows you to at least deal with it a little objectively. Now, there was 6 months where that didn't work. Face came right back. And that's because there was something deeper for me to learn, which is why we take responsibility, so we can learn for the next person. So if you enroll your friends in not allowing you to ramble on about how bad they were or how great they were, but have them go, who? And that's your indication to go, oh, just some guy I used to date, or just some girl I used to date. This will actually create a profound shift and will help you heal. So that's your little tip and we're going to begin a whole part on healing. And then the next segment will be how to help a friend who's hurting. And then the next segment will be how to open yourself to love again, if you believe in love after love.